Hello, good morning. Welcome back to another action-packed episode of Together Somos Más. My name is Marifer Vizcaíno, and I have...
Hello, everyone. My name is Alberto Reyes, and to my left is...
Kyle Gomez Lineweber. Woo!
How are you guys today? I just learned Alberto ran 3 miles before the show, and I woke up con lagañas, like crying that I had to wake up at 7:30.
This is the coffee's kicking in.
the coffee's kicking in. No, I'm just excited. We're less than 30 days away from elections, so it's that energy day to day that we had to, put the effort. But just happening something real quick. That the Hispanic Heritage Month is almost over. I had a lot of fun. Went with my family to many festivals. Ate a lot of delicious foods. What about you guys?
We went to so many events. This is not even Hispanic Heritage Month related, but I went to the fair. I just feel like it falls in fall season.
Yeah, no, they've got some great festivals all throughout the state. I went to the one in Gainesville, which was fantastic. And I've been stayed eating pupusas, tacos, tamales, but that's kind of year round. So I don't know.
All the good stuff. Marifer, tell the audience what can they expect today?
Yeah, so I mean, other than our segments that we have every episode, we have a very special guest today. So we are going to talk about abortion access and the 2024 elections. But our guest is the VP of Strategy and Policy with the National Women's Law Center Action Fund, Angel Padilla. So we're excited. Not only that, but we have a special guest from staff joining us for the interviews. So you get to see some new faces.
Yes, our audience, our fans were asking. They wanted to hear more about who's part of Galeo. So we promise we deliver.
Which I guess they got tired of us. Well, Galeo Impact Fund, to be clear.
Oh yeah, we're all repping our Galeo Impact Fund over here.
Oh well,
we can't really see it on mine, but it's fine.
Well, yeah. Other than that, I think we're gonna head on to lo que nos importa after this video.
Nuestro viaje comienza en la tierra de los sueños, donde las oportunidades florecen llenas de esperanza. Las primeras generaciones de inmigrantes cruzaron océanos, fronteras y muchas barreras. Ellos trabajaron sin descanso. Su sudor alimentó el suelo de esta gran nación. Su sacrificio fue nuestra base y nuestro inicio. Ahora sus hijos se levantan y llegan lejos, listos para honrar ese legado.
Hoy depositamos nuestros votos, no solo por nosotros, sino por todos aquellos que no pueden hacerlo. Hoy votamos para definir nuestro destino, para proteger los sueños de las generaciones pasadas y de las del futuro.
Unámonos, hagamos que nuestras voces sean escuchadas.
Construyamos puentes y derribemos las barreras.
Y forjemos un futuro brillante juntos.
Hoy nosotros votamos por aquellos que no pueden.
Okay, ya lo escucharon. Es tiempo de votar. And speaking of elections, we have a Unidos US poll that came out in August.
I saw some of the numbers.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys remember that a few months back we spoke about the Puente survey that we did in Georgia, and it turns out the results are very, very similar to that of the Unidos poll. So inflation, jobs, housing, immigration, healthcare, those are all key topics that, of course, impacts the entire nation, but Latinos specifically cite that as a large priority for them.
Yeah, specifically here in Georgia, one number that I found really interesting was 24% of new Latinos will be voting on this election. So they didn't have the age prior to 4 years ago. And that's a new generation. They want to be not just heard, but they want to engage in their values and what they believe their community should stand for. So looking forward to that. And Kyle, any other numbers that stick out to you?
Yeah, and what you're talking about, Alberto, is so important because here in the state of Georgia, Latinos represent almost 5% of the voting population. There's more than 400,000 registered Latino voters, and in a state where the last presidential election was decided here with fewer than 12,000 votes, that means we have powers. We just have to use it. But another kind of data point that I thought was really interesting and is really relevant to this episode is that there's a lot of misconceptions and a lot of stereotypes that are made about the Latino community, specifically around the idea of access to abortion. And what the Unidos polling, very similar again to El Puente para la Gente survey that we did in the past, showed that a strong majority of Latinos support access to abortion. Our community is by and large pro-choice when it comes to policy. And I think it was about 72% of Latinos that were polled in the Unidos polling either somewhat agreed or strongly agreed with the idea that there should be access to abortion, that a woman should have that right to choose. And so I think it's, really salient. It's on people's minds and is relevant to this episode. So I'm really excited.
Important. Yes. And also another thing that our listeners have been asking is for all those resources. So our great, amazing friend Lorena is going to be posting the links to the report there. If we welcome everyone to see it. And I think just because Georgia of how much impact is how Vice President Harris and Governor Walz have come to Georgia. I don't know. I lost count. Do you have idea how many times they have visited Georgia so far?
I don't know. I just know I went to the first rally in Atlanta, and it was. I mean, I did show up in that viral TikTok. So, but yeah, and it was just very enthusiastic. Yeah, energetic. Just we're ready. Georgia's ready.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it shows. And I think part of the reason because Vice President Harris has come to Georgia more than 20 times since becoming vice president.
More than me.
And, one of the key issues that they talk about, again, is abortion. And it's because that is such an important issue here in Georgia. Within the last 2 weeks, abortion in the state of Georgia went from being banned at 6 weeks to the ban being overturned. And now the ban has been reinstated yesterday.
I know. I was seeing some articles, and I was really happy when they said, okay, they're giving this what the community, what our survey has mentioned that they wanted, and suddenly they track back. So now it's back again in core. We gotta stay aware of what's happening.
And that's why it's so important to not just be aware of what's going on in the news, but also to stay engaged civically. If you care about, this issue, come knock on doors with us, come, volunteer, and definitely go out and vote.
Yes. Yeah. Follow us on Galileo Impact Fund Facebook page, Instagram. I'm sure we'll be posting all that information for what our community needs to know.
Yeah. And as someone, I think you and I, Alberto and Cal, we've all knocked on doors. It's actually kind of fun, especially if you're passionate about all the topics. It comes naturally, and you have some great conversations with your neighbors.
Yeah, we have a special guest from our Galileo staff that did knock on doors last weekend. So he has all the secret sauce on how to become an excellent canvasser.
I have this one friend. He always says that he's like, every time I knock on doors, my faith in democracy is a little bit more restored.
Exactly. Yeah. So you invite the community.
Yeah. But other than that, is there anything else regarding the abortion bill? Sorry, law that we'd like to speak about?
Well, I mean, we want our community to be informed. And so unfortunately, while Fulton County Superior Court judge did reinstate abortion access in Georgia for, a few days, that as the abortion ban has been reinstated here in our state. And so again, we just are emphasizing, if you care about this issue, there is one candidate who is committing to reinstoring abortion rights at a federal level, and that's the candidate that the Impact Fund endorsed, Kamala Harris.
Yes, let's go.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are in like very nerdy political group chats, but when the Fulton County Court ruled it was unconstitutional, we were like, woohoo! And then yesterday when we were in the meeting for this actually, and then when I sent that screenshot and everyone was like, boo, just like the energy shift. And I think that's something we need to keep in mind. The feeling that we had that when the court said it was unconstitutional, the happiness, that joy, that justice we had, and then that disappointment at something, we should keep in mind for the election.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, we all need to remember that this didn't just happen. This was a part of a long-term strategy by, very far right-wing activists who ultimately succeeded in getting 3 anti-abortion judges on the Supreme Court, and that's why Roe v. Wade was overturned. So, it's been said many times before, don't agonize, organize. And so that's why, we're organizing around this issue as well as the other issues that our community cares about, from cost of living to cost of housing. So come out, support us, help us knock on doors, and if nothing else, turn out and vote.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the most important thing. If any voter registration, his deadline was yesterday, I believe, or today. Yesterday. So just make sure that your status is good, that you know where your polling locations are. We encourage everyone to vote early, right from the beginning. We're gonna have more information about that. But yeah,
go to l4d.branch.vote.
Yes.
If you don't know where your polling location is,
we'll post that on the comments. That link.
Thank you. Yeah. So up next, we are interviewing our special guest, Angel Padilla, with our Galileo Impact Fund staff, Lorena and Brenda, right after this video. Hello, good morning. And thank you, and everyone. Thank you so much for being on the show. This is the segment where we have a special guest come in. Today it will be about abortion, reproductive justice, and our rights. But first, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm really happy to be on the program, especially talking about such an important issue in such a critical moment. My name is Angel Padilla. I'm the Vice President for Strategy and Policy at the National Women's Law Center's Action Fund. That's our political organization, sister organization. We also have a C3, our National Women's Law Center. But very happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us, Angel. Hello, Brenda. Hello, everyone. Hello, Angel. It is really good for us to have you here, especially in the light of the recent events. So welcome to Together Somos Más.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask, how did you get into this space? What are your personal motivations for fighting for reproductive justice, and why did you choose the National Women's Law Center Action Fund?
Yeah, well, first of all, again, this is abortion is one of the most important issues that anyone could be working on right now. But what's great about the Law Center Action Fund is that we work on a lot of issues. We work on abortion, on childcare, on tax policy, a lot of issues that impact women and families and communities as a whole. And so, I don't know. I grew up. Also, my parents are from El Salvador. They they left during the Civil War. They instilled in me this idea of justice, and so. Working on some of these important civil rights issues and issues around poverty have always been important to me. The law centers and the Action Fund have, they've been around for about 50 years, working on, again, not just abortion, but a series of issues. And so, very excited to help move some of these important policies forward, because I do think they impact, again, not just women, but communities and families. And then I guess also, what we have seen over the last 20 years, 30 years has been an erosion of some of our liberties. And so being able to work to try to protect, defend, and advance those is important to me, folks that I care about. And so that's why I'm at the Law Center Action Fund.
You mentioned that like reproductive justice is not only like a woman's issue. How do you think that men can be involved, and how do you think that men can engage in this issue as well?
That's a really great point. I think that one of our problems is that we have segmented this issue as a women's issue when it is not just a women's issue. It's like saying you should only care about voting rights if you're directly impacted by voting rights. It's like saying that you don't care about rights for folks who are disabled if you're not disabled, right? Like we should care about certain issues just because they are important civil rights issues. And that's true for, men should also be more vocal about it. We should be talking about it. We should also recognize that, again, it doesn't just impact the women who are being denied their freedoms. What we're talking about, I know we're going to get into some of the examples, but what we're talking about is it impacts families, right? Like when a woman doesn't have the freedom to make decisions about her body, it leads to things as terrible as someone dying, people dying, right? People die. It means that families are left without their mother, right? So like children, husbands, partners. It also means that it makes it harder for those families and those communities to thrive. And we have seen that for a lot of folks, having access to abortion really does impact their economic security and their ability to thrive. And so that has an impact, again, not just on the person, but the family and the community. And those are important issues that I think we need to keep in mind and that everyone should keep in mind. And then the other thing I'll just say is for anyone listening who maybe feels like this is not directly impacting their lives, this is about our democracy, right? You cannot have a democracy if you are literally denying rights to half of the population. Mm-hmm. And so there are plenty of reasons why you should care about this, not just, you don't have to be a woman to care about it. And there are plenty of reasons why you should care about it. And the more people that talk about it, the more people that like take action based on it, like whether it's organizing or voting, that helps us move the ball forward.
Wow. I love that. We can't be a democracy if we take rights away from half the population. Yeah, thank you.
Right, which leads into like something of my next question, I guess you could say. You talk about this affecting families, like as we've seen recently in real life, consequences, the passing of Amber Thorman. What do you think? Do you think that the deaths will keep rising if we do not elect a Democratic leader or to the White House or to Congress?
100%. So I know we know about Amber Thurman. This is the first documented case of someone dying because of a preventable, healthcare that they could have received related to abortion. She wasn't the first, and she won't be the last, unfortunately, and it's sad. And here's the thing: this is going to impact lower income people of color more than others, right? It's going to keep happening. It takes some time to figure out how cases and laws, as they change, how it impacts people. And we will continue to see more. This issue is also really polarizing, right? Like there are a few issues. Usually when you work on certain issues, you have some Democrats and Republicans there's some overlap. On this issue, there's very little daylight between where Republicans stand and where Democrats stand. There's a party that is opting for freedom, right? Freedom to choose, right? Freedom to make decisions about your body. And there's a party that is trying to deny, not again, women's rights when it comes to abortion, but also it's the same party that is trying to keep you from reading books that they don't like, right? There is a party of freedom, and that is the Democratic Party. On this issue, they are the ones who are pushing for, rights for women. They recognize that this is a healthcare issue. They recognize it's a civil rights issue. And so, unfortunately, if we don't take action to make sure that we elect the right people that are aligned with our mission and our values, then we're going to continue to see this get worse and worse, and we're going to see more and more death, more harm, and more tragedy. And again, that just has cascading impacts on families, communities. And again, I can't stress this enough because I know that your audience, based on your audience, it hurts our people more. And that's the thing that's super frustrating, right? Because there are these people who have been elected into office through a system, by the way, that advantages them over us. And then they are denying us our rights, and it impacts us. The harm is much, much worse for us than it is for them.
With the restrictive laws that like now are kind of passing, and all the things that are happening right now, at least until the elections, do you think that the how do you see like the trend of women traveling to other states for abortion services evolving?
It's that's a great question. It's gotten much worse. One of our partner organizations, the Guttmacher Institute, did a study last year in December, and it found that the number of people that are traveling out of state has doubled, since Dobbs, right? It's like something like close to 100,000 people that have to travel outside of their state in order to get access to abortion services. And remember, keep in mind that it doesn't impact just the people in the state when there's a restrictive ban, but also now you have more people in another state seeking healthcare. And so it means that those same clinics have to now, and those healthcare centers need to provide access or provide healthcare to even more people. So it's adding chaos, it's draining the system. And this is all preventable. And again, just to reiterate the point that I made a few minutes ago, not everyone can travel 6, 7, 8 hours, right? Some people have jobs, people have families, people have responsibilities, and it is expensive to do that. And so again, the people that are going to be most harmed are Black and brown communities of color that don't have those resources. Meanwhile, the well-to-do folks, in other communities will, they can take a flight, they can, be back, faster, and they have that flexibility. So again, we've seen this get worse, and it'll likely get worse, especially when you consider the things that Republicans and conservatives want to do in addition to the abortion bans.
Yeah, and not only that, but we're seeing that travel is being criminalized in some states, which further.
And it's really risky. It's really risky.
Mhm.
I mean, just imagine like for a woman in that situation to have to move and to somewhere else for hours in a car or whatever, and that's just like putting her life serious risk also.
Right. And then we were talking earlier about the Supreme Court, the Fulton Superior Court, when it ruled that the ban was unconstitutional last week. And then yesterday we saw that Attorney General Chris Carr's appeal to the Georgia Supreme Court was successful. So the ban is back in place. And then, women's lives are back at risk. So just for the election season, in 2026, Attorney General Chris Carr is running for office. And if he wins, we will see that he will continue to put women's lives at risk. But transitioning into a different question. So we knew that the Trump administration was going to try to pack the court with conservative justices. And as a result, we saw Roe v. Wade overturned, Planned Parenthood versus Casey overturned. And then the Dobbs decision gave power to the states to decide whether or not they want to put in place abortion bans or continue abortion access. So as recently as a few months ago, we saw that Alabama ruled that IVF embryos would be considered children, and then IVF clinics were shutting down left and right in Alabama, and then there was a whole frenzy across the state of families who are planning to have children, not knowing whether or not they would through that method. So what else could we see at risk? Is IVF the only thing? Is
abortion pill access?
Yeah, or just I don't know. Yeah,
that's a great question, and I guess I respond to that by saying Republicans and conservatives are 100% not done with their attacks. Keep in mind, one of the biggest, not only did the Dobbs decision again repeal the constitutional right to abortion that women had, but also created just an incredible amount of chaos and confusion at the state level. And despite what you might be hearing from some Republican candidates, right, who like to paint this as like we're giving the power back to the states, it is chaotic, and it was 100% preventable. And also, it is the job of the federal government to guarantee certain rights and freedoms, right? That's why we have laws that protect civil rights. That's why we have it's not just on this issue. There are laws that are national, federal, because we as a country have decided that there are some basic standards that we need to abide by. Abortion was one of them until the Dobbs decision. Mm-hmm. And the problem is Republicans are not done. What we know is, you mentioned the IVF example. That's one of them. But we know that Republicans are set on trying to ban contraception, right? Mm-hmm. Their goal is to go as far as contraception. You will not be able, if they had it their way, they would ban contraception. They want to get rid of, there've been ongoing court cases around medication abortion, right? And so they want to make it as hard as possible to have IVF, to have fertility treatments, to get contraception, to have any form of abortion, no matter what the circumstances are, right? And again, add that agenda, those goals, along with the disruption, the chaos, the confusion, the threats of, going to jail for 10 years if you get it wrong. It creates a scenario situation where people's lives are at stake or at risk. And now we've seen, right, again, Amber Thurman is not the only case, but we have seen that this has deadly implications for people, and it is happening across this country.
So this is all really concerning. Definitely. I know Brenda wanted to ask something about related to the elections as well.
Yes. So, me myself being a mom of a 18-year-old currently in college, I always tell her like voting is essential. Like she already registered to vote at like 17 and a half years old. What role do you think that these younger generation or younger adults have, when it comes to these rights, like women reproductive rights, and then also like reproductive access here in Georgia?
That's a great question, and I might be echoing what Kyle said a few minutes ago about just how small the margins are for some of these elections. The truth is that the young people, right, and Latinos and Latinas included, have the power to shape the future, not just with Georgia, but of the country. These elections, because of the way our system works, it doesn't matter if you win the popular vote, if you beat the other candidate by millions and millions of votes. It comes down to a few places with a handful of votes. Georgia is one of those states. You also have Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. But these elections are decided by small margins, and the problem is that we don't have a problem with support for our issues. Our issues are popular. Abortion is popular. This was mentioned at the top. Abortion is popular. Childcare is popular. Freedom is popular. The problem is that we don't have enough people turning out to vote when it matters. They're not voting early, or they're not showing up on election day for a lot of reasons, right? One of those reasons, by the way, is that conservatives have tried to make it as hard as possible for our side to vote, right? Mm-hmm. They want to discourage us from voting, and they want to make it hard for us to vote. But the thing that gives me hope is that there are more of us than there are of them. So if we could just get the people out, including young people, to vote, then we can shape the future of Georgia and the future of our country. We can guarantee access to abortion, guarantee freedoms, and that's what gives me hope. And I'm glad to hear that your daughter registered to vote, and I hope more will do that. And we get people to turn out, because this is what's gonna make a huge difference in just a few weeks.
So you would say, like, definitely, if you care about reproduction access, reproductive rights, you need to go and vote, and preferably like early voting.
We go vote early. If you can do it early, great. If you can't, make sure to go out on election day. Just to put a finer point on it, what we have between the two options are a party that is Democrats that are pushing for freedom, trying to guarantee access, and another party that is literally ready to sign a national abortion ban if they win in November. What you are seeing is Donald Trump, Republicans squirming when they get asked about this question. They are literally lying to your faces about what they would do. Donald Trump and Republicans have been trying to do this for decades, and they did. Kyle mentioned this earlier, but stacking the courts for a specific outcome, stacking the Supreme Court for the specific outcome of undoing Roe, and what they have done is they have gotten a lot of what they wanted to do. They've gotten it done, but they're not done. And so despite what you might be hearing, because they know this is unpopular, they will sign a national abortion ban if they get a chance to do it. You will see more states like Georgia with 6-week bans, with criminal penalties for folks who get it wrong. And so this is what's at stake. And so, yes, if you care about abortion, if you care about reproductive freedom, then this is one of the most important elections of our lifetime. And you have a chance to shape the future of, again, not just our freedoms, but also the country.
You gave us like great insights, and we would also like to know a bit more like what's like the work of your organization, and where can people get more information about you, more information about what the org does, and where they can find this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, the National Women's Law Center has been around for 50 years, and we cover a lot of issues. Again, not just abortion, contraception, but also sexual harassment. We cover childcare, tax policy. We also do judicial nominations in courts. Right? We KBJ was nominated and confirmed by President Biden, and so we were one of the organizations that were pushing to make sure that she got confirmed. So we have a host of issues that we work on, and the way that we like to talk about it is women don't live single issue lives, right? Like there's this tendency to say that women just care about abortion, or people just care about like Latinos only care about immigration. Like we all know that's not true. We heard at the top that there are a lot of issues that we all care about. So recognizing that, we cover a lot of issues. And so there are a few ways that folks can get involved in. We do both electoral work that we're talking about now through our Action Fund. And so if you go to National Women's Law Center, actionfund.org, you can find more information about some of the candidates, some of the issues at stake, where things that you can do to get involved, including, by the way, if you run into a candidate, here are some questions that you can ask that really matter and that are important. We also have education and advocacy that we do, so working to push policies on the Hill in Congress and also with the administration. So there's a lot of work that we do, and if folks are interested, we'd be happy. You can go to our website, again, nationalwomenslawcenter.org. We also have the Action Fund with a lot of information about ways that you can get involved to push for not just reproductive freedom, but also other issues that matter. And I know I've been kind of rambling, but one other thing I'll say is, no matter what happens this election, there is going to be a lot of important things that are happening immediately after the election, right? There is going to be this thing called the debt ceiling, where it could cause a lot of chaos in the international markets and also impact our ability to get some of our critical social services. That's happening immediately after the election. So we're gearing up to respond to whatever scenario we end up with.
Well, thank you so much, Angel, for being with us this morning and with this all great information. And yeah, thank you. And you're always welcome on Together Somos Más.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I want to say thank you for having me.
Latina Power fuels our democracy.
Exigimos respeto por nuestros cuerpos y por nuestras vidas.
Everyone knows it. Women's reproductive rights are fundamental to democracy in a free country.
Georgia es nuestro hogar. Nuestro voto puede redefinir políticas que le dan forma a esta nación.
We're not just voters. We're architects of change. Vote.
Vota.
Because her right to choose matters.
Welcome back. Muchas gracias, Ángel, otra vez con National Women's Law and Center Action, un ejemplo de Latino en Acción. But now we're Latinos in Acción segment with my great friend, Derek Alvarez. So, Derek, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
How's it going, Alberto? Good morning, everyone. My name is Derek Alvarez. I am Director of Civic Engagement at Galileo and Galileo Impact Fund.
Amazing. So I know that, being director, you have all that great experience. Just let's start the conversation. Why do you think Latinos in Georgia should vote, and why it's important for them to vote?
Well, Alberto, like Kyle said, there are 400,000 registered Latino voters here in Georgia. With those many voters, we're able to decide who the next president is. And not only that, based off of our Puente survey, we care about our rights, whether it's housing, the economy, reproductive rights. Based off of that off of the survey, if that's what we care about, that's what we're going to be voting for. So it's so important for us to vote to make sure our voices are heard and that our values are being represented.
That's great. Yeah, definitely. That's what we strive every day, to give the community that voice. So you mentioned a little bit of the importance, okay? But the community also needs the information. So coming right up, we're gonna have some important dates, and you can help me explain a little bit for our viewers.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here we have our wonderful flyer with La Presidenta logo here. You'll see we have early voting, which begins October 15th, Election Day, which is November 5th. Here for the specific flyer, we have vote yes for the Gwinnett Transit referendum. If you live in Cobb, Hall, or Gwinnett, there is a transit question. And at Glow Impact Fund, we've endorsed it with a yes. And so we hope you all vote yes for transit in those counties. And the last QR code is the QR code to l4d.branch.vote, where you can build your ballot not only in English, but in Spanish and Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese, my favorite language, and we'll be posting all those links in our comments for people that want to get more engaged. Just before we go into the Facebook page, you also wanted to say what other candidates Galileo Impact Fund have supported. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, absolutely. At Glow Impact Fund, we've endorsed multiple candidates this year. For example, just to name a few of them, in Gwinnett County, we've endorsed Laura Marvartian, Ashwin Ramaswamy, and Michelle King in Gwinnett County. And if you want to learn more about our endorsed candidates, please go to GalileoImpactFund.org to see that amazing list.
Yeah, and you know where else can they go? They can go to our Facebook, which is where we're gonna do right now. And yeah, to learn more about all the candidates. So this is our Galileo Impact Fund Facebook page. For our viewers, our listeners, go check it out. We'll be posting a link in our comments. We share all reputable information, all our past episodes, information about voting, checking the poll locations, time. But we're going to scroll down a little bit because I know that you were door knocking this weekend. We took some pictures, some videos, and I want to hear your experience. How was talking with the community? Tell us what happened.
Yeah, well, luckily there was a little bit of overcast that day, so it wasn't too hot. We got to enjoy a bit of that early fall breeze. But being out in the community, as you know, Glow Impact Fund, we launched our GOTV program last Friday. So I think we're in our 5th day of the program, which we've already spoken to or knocked on over 2,000 doors. So I'm so excited about that. But being in the field, the conversations we're having with community is that Latinos are excited for Vice President Kamala Harris running for president. The enthusiasm we see at the doors it is insane. And not only that, people are loving the flyer with La Presidenta Loteria card. I think that absolutely is connecting with voters, connecting with Latinos across the board. And it's not just limited to the flyer. You can actually get our La Presidenta swag at GalilEoImpactFund.org under the shop tab.
Yes.
So I think that's been our biggest connector, but the conversations have been phenomenal. To hear our community's concerns and how they align with not only Glow Impact Fund values, but our endorsed candidates' values as well. And so to feel that connection, to feel the energy and excitement is absolutely great. And like Kyle said earlier as well, it's kind of giving me faith in democracy all over again. So I'm really excited to see that and very lucky to experience that in the field.
Yeah, and we also got to say thank you to our canvassers. I know they've been throughout this campaign, our Galileo Impact Fund, they go day in, day out and just door knocking and share our message. And also, just like I said, check out our shop before the cool merch sold out, because from every time, as you mentioned, they've been having that positive outcome. They ask like, hey, where can I get that t-shirt? So get yours before they're sold out.
Absolutely.
Yes. So before we jump into the next session, anything else that you would like to share to our listeners? Poll locations. I know we encourage everyone to vote early.
Yeah, no, please vote early. There'll be shorter lines with your early vote, less wait time, and a couple more options in regards to places to vote depending on the county that you are in. So please vote early. Make it a point to take your friends and your family out to vote and get some food afterwards, or make it a party. Go all together. So please early vote. And also, I would love to plug in Galileo, not Galileo Impact Fund, but Galileo will be hosting a Taco to the Polls next Tuesday. So tacos free for everybody. Please make sure to RSVP so you can get the details. But we would love people to come grab some tacos for lunch before they go and early vote, since it begins next week on October 15th.
Yes, two of my other favorite words, tacos and freeze out besides voting. So we extend the invitation to everyone. We'll be posting all that into our social medias. Down here on the banner, we have our Galileo Impact on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn. And we expect everyone to be there, share our pictures and everything. And if you see out in our campus and in the communities, tell them thank you. So thank you so much, Derek. I appreciated you being here. You're a truly inspiration. And we'll be right back with our next segment.
Thank you.
The GIL program, also known as the Galileo Institute for Leadership program, it was established in 2006, so it's close to the 20-year mark for that. And what we do is we work with UGA's Fanning Institute of Leadership, and we get their curriculum to compose a one-year-long program for people around the state, leaders to join us, no matter what their background is, what their education experience is. What we prioritize is people taking the time to invest themselves, whether it's with public speaking, working in teams, making group decisions, building partnerships through communities. Those are just some of the courses that we offer, amongst many more. So we meet one Saturday a month from February till November. And we also have a Georgia State chapter, which is the same as the statewide cohort, but it runs throughout their school calendar. So fall and spring semester. And we are close to 900 alumni. I'm on my 5th cohort since my time with the leadership team. And we have a team of about 30 facilitators now. I really wish I had the time to name them all, but they all come from different industries, whether they work in the nonprofit sector or they work in the corporate side of things, or they work in higher ed, which is a industry that's typically forgotten, and definitely, thankful for the people that come into GIL and then take those skills back, as well as people who are students that are giving it their all to give back to their families as first-generation students. Sign up now to get involved with our organization. Check our socials, contact us through our website. There's different ways for you guys to reach out and ask any questions you may have, but we really look forward to seeing you getting involved with our organization.
Hello, welcome, Brenda.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So many of our listeners or viewers don't know this, but we are a team of 3. Liz, which was in the GIL ad, but also you. And if anyone knows you, especially at Galileo and the Galileo Impact Fund, is you love social media, you love being on camera. So take it away.
Thank you, Buddy Fed. So like you said, I like being on camera. I like being letting everyone know, informing everyone of what we have coming up next. As everyone might have seen, we just had our Latino Leadership Summit at the headquarters at Georgia Power. And next week, we're actually traveling to Columbus State, to have our leadership series down there in Columbus.
Yeah, and we're excited. We went to the Latinx Alliance meeting a few weeks ago, and the need for leadership development programs or events in Columbus is something they've been asking for, and something we've been continuing to push for for a while. So we're excited to be in Columbus. And if you are in Columbus, or if you know anyone that lives in the Columbus area, please let them know that we are having an event there. You can find out more information on our website, galileo.org, and other events. Also, Brenda, I just want people to know that we met through GIL.
Yes.
Back in the class of 2021, the best cohort ever. And I think that GIL was one of the reasons that both of us maybe started at Galileo. It's definitely the reason I am in the nonprofit space. One of the reasons why I wanted to continue working in nonprofit space. So with that being said, our applications for the next cohort, the 2025 GIL cohort, are open. The bit.ly is bit.ly/2025 GIL. Or for those of you who are watching us on the stream, we have the QR code up. We have some pretty cool people in the alumni network. Wouldn't you say, Brenda?
I would say we do. This cohort coming up right now, the one that's getting ready to graduate next month, they're pretty amazing. Like you said, 2021 best cohort, but they're up there too. Sorry that I skipped the year, but I think definitely, connecting with everyone throughout the years, really, that we've been having GIO has been amazing. And, we get to see how everyone has grown throughout the years and what they're doing now, what our GIO alumni are doing. And it's just a really good way to connect with people. Like Marifer said, we actually met through GIL. That is what made me transition out of the corporate world into nonprofit world. And I've been here at Galileo since then, since I started with Galileo at the end of 2021.
Absolutely. And I based on what the video with Liz showed, it is one Saturday a month. And a lot of people think, oof, that is a big commitment. I promise you it's not. It's a good time. And we do have, we are flexible. We'll work with you. If you have any questions, reach out to me, reach out to Brenda, reach out to Liz. We are more than happy to answer any questions. But last but not least, we wanted to invite you to the museum, the National Museum of Civil and Human Rights this Saturday, October 12th. We will be there from noon to 4 at tabling, but they're also hosting a Hispanic Heritage Month event. Admission is only $10. $10. We'll be there too with tabling if you have any questions, and if you want to close out the month with a bang.
Muy días a todos. I'm Kyle Gomez Lineweber, Director of Policy and Advocacy, and here with me is our founder and CEO, looking like Pedro Infante, looking like Chente, repping for Hispanic Latino Heritage Month, Jerry Gonzalez. Jerry. I think you're muted, Jerry.
I'm starting. I think I need more coffee. Jerry Gonzalez here, CEO of Galileo and Galileo Impact Fund. Just wanted to start with something to bring a smile to your face, because we got some very heavy topics to talk about, don't we?
Yes, we do. And let's jump right into it. Obviously, immigration is an important issue for our community, but also for the entire country. It's a topic that we've seen discussed on the national stage. Some good, but a lot of bad narratives that are being pushed out there, especially right now. And I know, Jerry, you were with me at, in the final days of the legislative session where we saw that kind of come to fruition here in our own state. And so, I think it's important, as we approach early voting and election day, to kind of talk about the contrast between Kamala Harris, who the Impact Fund has endorsed on immigration, and Donald Trump's Project 2025 immigration plan, which is really going to be harmful for our community.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really stark contrast of what we want to have in place for our country, and I think we really need to take it seriously here in Georgia. In Georgia, we have over 1 million Latinos, accounting for about 10% of the population, but accounted for 28% of the state's growth. And of those 1 million Latinos that live in Georgia, it's estimated that there are over half of those Latinos are foreign born, and more than half of those foreign born Latinos are undocumented immigrants. So you take a look at how immigration and mass deportations would impact our community. It would impact all of our lives, I think, significantly. And we need to be paying attention to what Project 2025 says, what the candidates are saying. Donald Trump is promising mass deportations, rounding people up, but we'll get into the specifics of that to contrast both of them.
Absolutely. And, one of the things that, obviously there's been a lot of ads saying that, Kamala Harris is, basically pro-crime, essentially, and that, and tying that to immigration and undocumented immigrants. Obviously, you and I know that there's no data to suggest that undocumented immigrants or immigrants in general have any sort of proclivity for crime. I think, we looked at some data points earlier last week that showed that the opposite is true, that if you're an undocumented person, you are significantly less likely to commit a crime here in the United States.
Absolutely. I think one thing that we've seen consistent within the MAGA extremists and Donald Trump and pushing is lies. Lies and fear is all they have. They don't have solutions for what we want as to fix our broken immigration system. All they have is fear. And really, even in the first Trump presidency, he didn't accomplish, or he didn't get Mexico to pay for the wall. He didn't accomplish much of the wall at all. He just rebuilt some parts of the wall that needed rebuilding. But that being said, I mean, he's a failed president, doesn't deserve a second term. And we must reject them here in Georgia because it would impact our communities tremendously.
Mm-hmm. And meanwhile, you've got Kamala Harris, who is, obviously emphasizing reform, talking about a pathway to citizenship, protecting our, DACA folks, and, while also talking about security enforcement and striking that balance, which, I think we've seen in the polling, our community actually, supports.
Yeah, I think the polling does indicate that we are wanting to make sure that we have a path to citizenship. We want to protect immigrants that are here already. We want to provide a path to citizenship. But Latinos in Georgia even, and national polling indicate that there needs to be border enforcement at some level to make sure that it's not this or the other. It's actually both. And I think that that's going to be the pathway forward to make sure that we can move immigration reform forward. So it's really important. So tell us a little bit about some of the other things that have happened recently that we advocated for, like parole in place. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. We worked with statewide and nationwide partners to advocate the Biden-Harris administration to expand parole in place to undocumented spouses of U.S. citizens, which has properly implemented, has the impact to provide much needed dignity and security to over 550,000 families in the United States, 33,000 of which are here in Georgia. And so that, I think that shows what the values have been of the Biden-Harris administration and gives us a glimpse as to what, a Harris administration would bring, in the next 4 years.
Yeah, I know many families that were impacted by this, that are impacted by this parole in place. And it's going to be a life-changing situation for them. So this is something that's really important for families here in Georgia.
And it's why it's so important to talk now about what the other side, what Trump is offering with his Project 2025 plan. They're talking about the largest deportation in American history, talking about deporting 11 million immigrants. And, obviously there's going to be a cost to that. We we've seen studies that have said $315 billion to nearly $1 trillion being the cost to the American taxpayer just doing this. But, there's the financial and economic cost, but then there's also, the human cost, the cost to our communities. Talk a little bit about what would that look like?
Well, let's first talk about the economic side. I mean, here we have the Georgia Trend magazine talking about 150 years of agriculture, Georgia Department of Agriculture. There's 1 billion chickens processed in Georgia as of 2022, according to this article. Those chickens don't pluck themselves, so don't process themselves. Our agricultural system in Georgia is heavily dependent upon immigrant labor. If you were to remove the immigrant labor in Georgia and deport everybody, our industry would shut down. Poultry would be gone from Georgia. Vidalia onions would no longer be picked in Georgia. Many crops would disappear. We've seen it when Georgia tried to pass anti-immigration laws. There were migrant farm workers that bypassed Georgia, and hundreds of millions of dollars in crop losses ensued in that one instance. So we need immigrants in Georgia's agricultural sector. It's the #1 industry, producing $73 billion into Georgia's economy and providing over 340,000 jobs as of 2022. So Georgia agriculture is #1. The #2 service industry is the #2 industry in Georgia, and many immigrants are part of that. So when you talk about mass deportation, you're talking about impacting Georgia's economy. But what would that look like? I mean, immigration going into churches, going into schools to round up people and forcibly remove them from our communities, going door to door to forcibly remove our communities. This is what the vision for Project 2025 is. And not just the vision for Project 2025, but Trump says it at every single rally. He said it at the DNC. We saw the signs for mass deportations now. That's what they're running on. That's what they're promising. It's not hyperbole. It's what they will execute once they do implement. They will implement this if they do get into office. So that's why for Georgia Latinos to be considering voting for Trump means that you are going to be stabbing the immigrant community in the back and tearing apart our families here in Georgia. And we don't want that.
And I think we all remember just how brutal and cruel the Trump administration was with the first term, with family separations, where we saw thousands of kids and babies separated from their parents, essentially put into cages. Now they're talking about not just doing that at the border. They do want a return to family separation, but with these mass deportations, we're talking about this happening in every community all across the United States.
Yeah, that was horrific to see babies in cages and getting torn apart from their mothers and fathers at the border during the Trump administration. We cannot forget that. We can't make sure that we can remember that. They want that and more. They're actually also wanting to go after birthright citizenship. So it doesn't stop with just at the border. If you are a child born in the United States to undocumented parents, they want to take your citizenship away. They're promising that. That's part of Project 2025. So that is another aspect of it. But they're not stopping there, are they, Kyle? What else are they targeting?
We also know that they're talking about ending DACA and ending TPS. And, there are hundreds of thousands of DACA recipients in the United States, 20,000 of whom live, work, and pay taxes in Georgia. And, with TPS, you're talking about, people who are escaping authoritarian regimes. Republicans, conservatives, Trump talk a big game about, being against communism and socialism and this, that, and the other, but they're talking about ending a program that provides protections for people escaping those very same regimes.
Yeah, people from Nicaragua and Venezuela are going to be targeted. So if there's many in the Venezuelan community that are considering conservative ideology to make sure that they vote from a conservative perspective. But really and truly, if they vote for Trump Trump will deport many Venezuelans that are here with temporary protective status, won't he?
Yes, absolutely. And, again, not just those folks who are here through TPS, but also our DACA folks who have lived essentially their whole lives here in Georgia and throughout the United States.
Yeah, the Republicans have been very active in fighting DACA. They're the reason why DACA is in danger, and that's a shame that even our own state is part of that lawsuit with Attorney General Chris Carr leading the fight against DACA here in the state of Georgia. So DACA is in danger with the Trump administration. DACA is certainly in jeopardy, and we need to make sure that we do everything that we can as a citizen. I feel a responsibility to stand up and to stand with immigrants and make sure that my vote is going to be for standing with immigrants. And I hope that other Latinos in Georgia will stand with me as well.
Absolutely. And I think, the one other point that we'll make that we need to touch on about Trump's 2025 anti-immigrant plan is this border wall that he continues to talk about. That's just the construction of this wall. We're talking about $20 billion in tax dollars a year being spent on a wall that is ineffective. And, as you mentioned earlier, what he built and what was built in the first term was not anything new. It was just kind of replacement of what was barriers that were already there.
Yeah, the border wall is really really something that he's obsessed with. I don't get it. Ese hombre está loco. No necesitamos eso. Esta comunidad es parte de nuestra nación y tenemos que mover adelante sobre esas tonterías que quiere el presidente Trump. Necesitamos que rechazarlo y necesitamos que asegurar que nuestra comunidad salga para votar, para defender a nuestros hermanos y hermanas que son inmigrantes.
Absolutely. And, thank you, Jerry, for being part of this conversation. And, we'll continue to have these conversations as we're knocking on doors and talking to voters, because the choice is clear.
Please.
If you care about Latino values, if you care about our community, if you care about the economy, you can't vote for Trump. There is no choice.
There is no choice for Georgia. It would tear our state apart and it would tear our families apart here in Georgia. So we must vote for Kamala Harris and Vice President Harris and Governor Walz to be the next president and vice president of the United States. We must do that.
Absolutely. And so, as we've been telling folks, you can support our work by, donating to us, by knocking on doors with us. And we also now have a Galeo Impact Fund shop where you can buy this awesome T-shirt with La Presidenta. You see, we got our wonderful model, Jerry, here with it. And it's a beautiful Loteria card that we have on shirts, stickers, magnets, coffee mugs. So be sure to, check us out by going to galeoimpactfund.com/shop. And you've got the bit.ly link there on the screen. So support us however you can.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. Oh my God. I love the hat, Jerry. Definitely.
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us today. But we do have some final reminders. Derek hinted at it early in their segment that we do have Taco Tuesday to the polls coming up. So please register. Do we have a link for that? Do you mind sharing the link? Yeah.
Yes, we have it, and we're gonna share it right into the Facebook.
Yeah, okay, on our Facebook page. So find out more
information.
information.
I love tacos. I love tacos. It's Taco Tuesday today too.
Yes.
Alberto said it, free and tacos. So make sure to join us. This is one of our many engagements to get y'all to vote early and be excited to vote. But yeah, thank you to our guests, Brenda, Lorena, Derek, for joining us. Oh, and Jerry today. Thank you to Angel for giving us some very, very important information, things that I didn't know, things to me that probably will keep me up at night. If we don't vote for Kamala Harris, some of the things that we will see in the upcoming years. So let's keep in mind that is something we're also looking at 2026 for our governor. But with that, thank you so much. Have a great day. Y recuerden, together
Somos más.